Spurs are back. The perennial bottlers, the nearly men of North London, the club that defines Spursy, is doing something terrifying. They are marching inexorably toward a guaranteed top 4 finish this season, and it has nothing to do with luck. In fact, the very reasons they failed last year are the secret ingredients to their success right now.
Everyone says. I mean, what a great place to go. A beautiful stadium. Beautiful stadium.
Tottenham are not going to concede so regularly as they were. They were too soft to play against far too often in the last 18 months, 2 years. They were too easy to play against.
Look, you know Daniel Levy well and how demanding he can be. What will Daniel expect of Thomas Frank in his first season, do you think?
Well, Daniel will be expecting certainly, a top 6 finish at the worst. I mean, and hopefully get another trophy. Yeah, I mean, as you know, Jeff, they've gone for an awful lot of good managers recently. You look at Conte's gone elsewhere and won titles again, and Jose, and there's, it's just one after the other, really. And he's got high expectations, and he won't be happy unless they're up there really pushing. He spent a fortune on the stadium, the training ground. He feels now, obviously, that they should be up there, and that certainly looking, really for a top 4 place, probably. That's what he'd be hoping.
But last season, Ipswich went to Spurs and won. Okay, in the league. Leicester went to Spurs and won. A Thomas Frank team and set up 3 crosses in the first 20 seconds for Spurs. So I'm watching the game, I'm thinking, gone 20 seconds have gone, and there's been 3 balls being played into the box. After 20 seconds, I'm laughing, thinking, well, that's not Ange ball, is it? That's more, Thomas Frank's always had a leader of the line, whether it's Ivan Toney, Vizza last year, and Ollie Watkins. He's always had that leader of the line that brings the team up the pitch. Richarlison played like that yesterday.
23 home league games, unbeaten for Leeds, not anymore. Janish Spurs extend their unbeaten run to 7, move up to second in the table. Quietly efficient performance today. They weren't great, but that's a big 3 points on the road.
Yeah, quite efficient, you said, but quietly, Spurs are in the second place, right? And there's not much to talk about. I think in any of the games they've done something spectacular, right? But they have been good on the road. Wins. I think Man City, obviously, they do that. They seem to do that all the time. West Ham now at Leeds, which, as you've mentioned, is not easy over a year without a loss at home in the league. So, look, Thomas Frank, I think we've talked about it. He's making these Spurs, I think, at the very least, resilient on both sides of the ball.
Two, I would say, tough games. The first game you play newly promoted side
at
home. So you'd even though they had a great history of conceding very few, that was in the Championship. So you'd expect Spurs to win that game. But, with the disappointments of missing out on those 2 players, Eberechi Eze and Morgan Gibbs-White, then you're going away to Man City, who looked great on the opening day of the first season as well, on the opening weekend. I thought it was a brilliant start. You couldn't ask for any more than that, right? 5 goals scored, none conceded. They look good, Tottenham. Early days, but we can only talk about early days. They look good.
They look really good. It's a fixture, by the way, that they've been really, for whatever reason, they just seem to have Man City's numbers. They've won the 3 out of the last 4 in all competitions, and fair play. You have to hold your hands up and say that they were brilliant again. I thought the midfield 3 were fantastic. They're full of energy, full of legs. I thought Sarr has been brilliant this season. Kudus running with the ball. Paulinho, he's the one. I thought when they signed him, that's the signing that made me go. I know Kudus will get all the headlines because of the money they spent on him, but he was one, Paulinho, where I thought, oh my goodness, wow, that's a really good signing, because that's exactly what they need, because that allows the likes of Bentancur and Sarr to push forward.
I don't want to say win it yet. Get top 6, top 4.
Well, I don't think. I predicted the Spurs to finish 5th.
Okay.
So they wouldn't surprise me. And you look at what they had on the bench. Obviously, the likes of Matthias Tell, who they've just bought. Ben Davis, obviously older. Archie Gray, one for the future. Danso come on. Bergval's been brilliant. Odegaard, Solanke. They've still got Udogie to come back. They've got Kulusevski to come back. We know Maddison's going to come back. I know it's next year, probably February time. Basuma to come back. They've got players. They've got players to come back as well. So you look at their squad and you go, okay, it's decent. I don't think they can win the league. No,
they can't win the league.
No, they can't win the league.
Why can't Spurs win the league?
I just think they're not one of the best teams. I think they're a really good team, but I still think there's teams better than them. So I don't think they can win the league. But I had them at 5th, and I'd stand by. I think that's when they finished.
They already look harder to beat than they did under Pochettino. Under Postecoglou.
Yeah, but it's just
they've got a game plan now.
This is a story of necessary destruction, a ruthless rebuild, and the terrifying statistical ceiling of the Premier League's most underrated new manager. Forget the romantic story of Ange Postecoglou's high-wire attack. That era is over. The club's decision to fire him, despite lifting a European trophy, was a brutal, clinical calculation based on an unsustainable 17th place Premier League finish. The foundation was rotten, and the ultimate symbol of that break was the Son Heung-min departure. The day Sonny left for LAFC, many fans feared the sky would fall. The talisman, the emotional leader, the man who defied XG metrics for years, was gone. But what if I told you that the exit of their 10-year superstar was the single most vital piece of the puzzle for the new manager, Thomas Frank, to complete his transformation? The scary reason why Spurs are poised to secure Champions League football is the death of sentimentality. Postecoglou was an ideologue. He played one way, all, out attack, high line, feast, or famine. It led to thrilling football in 2023, but it was statistically suicidal.
I think Ange had a game plan, but the problem with Ange was that when it got figured out, he didn't then change it.
No.
Enter Thomas Frank. Frank is the anti-Ange. He is not a romantic. He is a pragmatist. He is a data-driven coach who understands that top four is built on a foundation of granite, not flair. Look at the early season Spurs numbers under Frank, and the change is immediate and stark. Last season, under Postecoglou, Tottenham's expected goals against XGA per game hovered around an abysmal 1.6. They were relying on Vicario to pull off miracles while their defense was being routinely exposed by an average of over 13 shots against per game. They were, statistically, one of the easiest teams in the league to create chances against. Now, under Frank, that number has plummeted. Through the first 7 games of the 2025 over 2026 campaign, Spurs' XGA sits closer to 0.85 per game, a massive statistical improvement that places them firmly in the company of the league's elite defensive units like Arsenal and Liverpool. Their actual goals against is 5 in 7 games, which is an incredible 0.71 per game, a top 3 metric. How did he achieve this so quickly? It's Frank's tactical flexibility. He's ditched the permanent inverted fullback system that constantly left the central defenders exposed. Instead, we see a chameleon system, a compact, mid-block 4-3-3 against possession, heavy teams, and a sudden, devastating transition to a 3-4-3 when facing low blocks. The fullbacks, particularly Destiny Udogie and Pedro Porro, are no longer asked to be number 8s. Udogie is back to his Udinese form, utilizing his blistering pace on the overlap, simplifying his role, and removing the clutter that often saw him crowded out in central areas. This is a manager using data to optimize player roles, not shoehorn them into a rigid philosophy. This shift from 1.6 XGA to 0.85 XGA is the scary reason number 1. It's an elite defense being built in real time. You cannot build a top 4 team without a midfield that can dominate the middle third. For years, the engine room at Spurs was a vulnerability, often bypassed or simply overrun. Frank addressed this with a single, brutal transfer. João Palhinha. The acquisition of João Palhinha, initially on loan, then made permanent, was a masterstroke of defensive midfield anchoring.
With the ball, Paulinho, he's the one. I thought when they signed him, that's the signing that made me go. I know Kudus will get all the headlines because of the money they spent on him, but he was one, Paulinho, where I thought, oh my goodness, wow, like that's a really good signing because that's exactly what they need because that allows the likes of Bentancur and Sarr to push forward.
It's the kind of gritty, non-glamorous signing that separates contenders from pretenders, and the stats immediately back it up. Palhinha is a one-man wrecking crew. His numbers speak to an almost unprecedented level of defensive industry in the 6 role. Across the first few matches, his tackles won per 90 minutes sits at 3.8, a figure that not only leads Spurs but puts him among the top defensive midfielders in Europe. Critically, his successful pressures percentage is over 34%, a significant jump from the squad average last year, proving he's not just tackling, but winning the ball in advantageous positions. But Palhinha is only half the story. The other half is the resurgence of the creative number 8, Rodrigo Bentancur. Under Postecoglou, Bentancur's role was often messy, part creator, part shuttler, often having to drop too deep to cover an exposed defense. Now, with the Palhinha shield in place, Bentancur is liberated. His progressive passes per 90 have jumped from 5.1 last season to 7.8 under Frank. This isn't just about quantity, it's about quality. He's completing almost 88% of his passes, making him the metronome that controls the tempo. This pairing is an analytical dream. The 3.8 tackles per game anchor freeing up the 7.8 progressive pass artist. It creates a domino effect. The defense is protected, the ball moves forward efficiently, and the team maintains nearly 60% average possession, even in tough away games. This is the definition of control. The addition of two young midfield prospects, Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, gives Frank the kind of depth Spurs haven't had in a decade. If Bentancur or Palhinha need rest, the system doesn't crumble. Instead, a younger player with fresh legs steps seamlessly into a predefined, efficient setup. This is the second scary reason: a relentless, 90-minute ready midfield built to win the war of attrition. Now to the attack. Son's departure was framed as a crisis of goals. The South Korean star was a statistical outlier, a player whose incredible finishing meant he was consistently scoring 3 to 5 goals above his expected goals every single season. He was the definition of metric defiance. His exit, however, has forced Spurs to evolve into a modern, multi-threat attack, rather than relying on one superhuman finisher. Under Thomas Frank, the front line isn't about one man anymore. It's a relentless, interchangeable unit of young, pacey talent. The transfers are surgical. Mathys Tel from Bayern Munich, Mohamed Kudus from West Ham, and Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig. This isn't just new blood, it's a strategic shift. Mathys Tel is the natural heir to the left-wing role. At just 20 years old, he offers explosive athleticism and sharp finishing. His shots on target percentage hovers near 48%, and his dribble success rate, over 55%, already surpasses Son's final season numbers. He may not match Son's volume yet, but his quality of chance creation is higher. Mohamed Kudus is the perfect Frank player. Versatile, physical, and direct. He's been used both as a false nine and as a right-sided attacking midfielder. Kudus averages around 0.4 goals or assists per 90 minutes, making a major contribution to Spurs' strong attacking record. Then, there's Xavi Simons, the creative glue. His chances created per 90 are approaching 3, an elite number that highlights the structural change in Spurs' attack. Instead of relying on one player to defy the metrics, Frank has built a collective that consistently creates and converts high-quality chances. This is the third scary reason. The death of the talisman has led to the birth of a statistically balanced, multi-threat forward line, a system far less vulnerable to injury or a dip in one player's form. It's a cold, data-backed foundation for sustained success. And finally, the Champions League reality. It's not just about what Spurs are doing right. It's about others failing to adapt. 7 matches into the 2025-26 Premier League season, Spurs sit third with 14 points, just 2 behind leaders Arsenal, and crucially, ahead of the usual contenders. Below them lies chaos. Manchester United is floundering in 10th place with just 10 points. They're struggling with goals and defensive consistency, proving that the money spent hasn't translated into a sustainable system. Their goals conceded metric is a major liability. Chelsea, despite their massive spending, are stuck in 7th place with 11 points. They remain a team of individual talents, not a cohesive unit. It's a structural problem that a new manager can't fix overnight. The consistency of Spurs is their deadliest weapon this year. Frank's ability to grind out results is already evident. They have secured 3 1-0 victories and 1 dominant 3-0 win away at West Ham. The ability to win ugly, with a tight defense and an efficient attack, is the hallmark of a top 4 team, a quality that was completely absent from the club for the past 2 years. Frank inherited a team that lost 22 league games last season. He has stabilized that ship, implemented a clear, flexible, and statistically sound system, and backed it up with transfers that perfectly fit his pragmatic vision. They have the defensive anchor in Palhinha, the creative freedom in Bentancur, and a multi-headed monster in attack with Tel, Kudus, and Simons. This season, the top 4 race isn't about who will be the most brilliant. It's about who will be the most ruthlessly consistent. And right now, the most consistent, most data-optimized, and most frighteningly efficient team is Tottenham Hotspur. The scary reason why Spurs will get top 4 this season is that they have killed the romantic dream and replaced it with a machine built to win. Don't be surprised when the final whistle blows on the 38th game. This isn't the Spurs, you know. This is the new, cold, and calculated reality of a club that finally prioritized structure over spectacle. Spurs are getting top 4, and the rest of the league needs to start running.